First of all, I would like to thank you, Dr. Francesca, for this opportunity to transfer our pain and our problems for the world. I would like to express my deepest thanks for all of the international friends, or for all of our comrades in all over the world. And I hope that we will success in transfer and ensure the world what is happen in Gaza Strip, and how the people in the Gaza Strip cope to meet their needed and to solve their problems under this complicated issues such as siege, closure of crossings, and war or conflict or invasions launched against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip several times by the Israeli occupation or military actions, as you seen in the media in the Gaza Strip. According to the first questions of you about the Gaza is one of the most water scarce areas in the world. However, the main causes of the scarcity aren't like in other water scarce areas like Amman, natural. Could you comment on the key causes of water crisis in the Gaza Strip? Environmental degradation and water scarcity and the problems in the Gaza Strip threatens to undermine the availability or the viability of any future Palestinian state, and create conditions that will make life in many parts of the Palestinian territories impossible. Many environmental problems are accelerated and exacerbated by occupation practices, which prevent effective environmental management. This problem is particularly acute in Gaza in relation to the water resources and the ongoing military conflict. Water for the 1.8 million people, half of them children, and two-thirds refugees who live in just 378 square kilometers of land bordering the Mediterranean, comes entirely from the shallow coastal aquifer shared between Gaza, occupied Palestinian areas, and Egypt, which is only partially replenished each year by rainfall. Decades of overbombing and heavy pollution from salts and wastewater has left the aquifer highly degraded and in danger of irreparable damage. More than 55 million cubic meters of water should be abstracted a year, but present exploitation rates run at around 160 million cubic meters. If this continues, it could result in the water table dropping to a point where massive seawater intrusion permanently destroys the source within a few years. To answer your question, can you describe how Gaza used to be before 1948? Has it always been a water scarce environment? I would like to say that the roots of Gaza's water problem lie in over population of the area due to a high influx of refugees in 1948, when approximately 200,000 people fled to Gaza from the Jaffa and Beersheba areas of what is now occupied Palestinian territory called Israel, following Israel's war on Palestine, what we call it Al-Nakba. The original population of the Gaza Strip at that time was 80,000 people. Thus, these represented an increase of some 250%. Today, over 3/4 of the estimated Gazan population of 1.8 million are registered refugees.
To reverse the damage to the aquifer, or is it irreparable?
We can say this if there is a strategic planning and a real solution in a large scale and small scale by stopping of the overpumping and offer other options and alternatives to eliminate the seawater intrusion effects, which is considered that the main source of pollution in the water. The seawater now inserted in the Gaza aquifer by 2 kilometers as length in the Gaza. From the seawater, the Mediterranean seawater. Upgrading of all of the wastewater treatment plants to cope the population growth and the increasing of the sewage volume and the capacity of these treatment plants to receive sufficiently and efficiently and to treat this wastewater in a good manner to be used because of the scarcity of water in the Gaza and because of the wastewater is a problem environmentally. So we need to treat it sufficiently and efficiently and to be discharged in the groundwater aquifer or to use it in irrigation systems in the agricultural. Rehabilitating of wastewater collection system to prevent the direct pollution by wastewater. Many of people in the Gaza Strip didn't connected to the wastewater collection systems of the municipalities. So they use the cesspools or cesspits as a syringe of toxic material directly inserted to the aquifer and polluted it. This collection system is very damaged and deteriorated through the years of the recent years without any upgrading or environmentally development in a good or a sufficient manner. Connect all people to the treatment station system. Solid waste dumping sites should be in a sanitary technologies to prevent the leakage of the toxic leachate to the groundwater aquifer. As you know, our solid waste is organically compounded, and 70% of our solid waste is organic compound. 1 ton of solid waste produce 200 liters of toxic leachate, which consists of very high load of contaminants such as BOD, COD, and other contaminants such as nitrate or other heavy metals. As I do it, the experimental analysis I have done in the laboratory and my PhD research, depending on the leachate treatment by using borosulfate and other chemicals. By using sodium borosulfate as good oxidant or strong oxidant in combining to the hydrogen peroxide. It's a new way
of treatment.
What? See?
This is a new manner of treating wastewater.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Because of the advanced oxidation process is newly used internationally, and the world using several oxidants such as phenton, ozone, and we have used a new oxidants, and we produce a real and a devastated results. It is a very beautiful results according to our experimental work. Agricultural activities and using of the fertilizing material should be controlled and in scientific behaviors. Many of Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip use several types of toxic material as fertilizers, which is prevented internationally or prohibited, and it
This is also something that internally should be controlled. There should be legislation to stop farmers from using these dangerous substances.
There is a rules, but in the desks there is many of norms and regulations manage this sector, but the political circumstances in the recent years in the Gaza Strip and the weakness of our governmental organizations, our NGOs, non-governmental, and the return to the closure of the crossings of the Gaza Strip let them to do a bad or very strong pollution, but without any controlling, because of the responsibility is hidden in Gaza Strip. Some bodies want the governmental to do their work, but the farmers want alternative or any other option to do their work. It's a complicated relationship between farmers and governmental organization here in Gaza. We should.
Your research that you're doing for your PhD looks at new ways of treating wastewater. Is that right?
The leachate produced from the solid waste. Yes, it's more than polluted, very high level of contamination than wastewater. We see the contamination in the Gaza Strip wastewater, such as an example, COD. You know, COD is chemical oxygen demand in the wastewater in the Gaza Strip between 2,000 COD, and many times between 2 to 3. But in leachate, yes, but in leachate we record for 40,000, 50,000 of COD. It is a very high contamination level by organic material in leachate. Finally, we should develop our performance and capability in terms of rainwater harvesting to increase the water quantity that we have collected in winter and used it in a good manner, just for drinking, not for drinking, but for irrigation system or in cleaning or other uses in the family. And without using it for drinking. Finally, we should find other alternative water resources options to and decrease the relying on the groundwater aquifer to prevent or to stop the pollution of seawater, and to get the aquifer an opportunity to be recovered and to be sustained for the.
There's many different things that can be done to reverse the pollution. So there's small things and big things that can be done and need to be done to save the aquifer.
Of course.
Yeah. So how about the effects of the polluted water, as that's the only water you have in Gaza? People have to use it. What are the effects on public health?
There is many impact and adverse effects on public health and on a human, even in all parts of the family households or members. As you know, there is a children, there is a pregnant woman, and there is who have a low immunity system. Contamination of groundwater in the Gaza Strip is caused primarily by elevated levels of chloride as a result of salination and seawater intrusion, and nitrogen from contamination caused mostly by agricultural and of pesticides and seepage of sewage into the aquifer. As example of contaminants, the little water available is heavily polluted by nitrate from uncontrolled sewage and fertilizers, as we said, from farmlands, making of 95% of the water unfit for human consumption, especially for drinking, with the Gaza population expected to increase by 500,000 within 8 years, and nearly 25% of all illnesses in Gaza water related. The urgency for countries to put aside differences and address the issue is growing. Many of pollution in the Gaza Strip, such as heavy metals and the chemicals, persistent organic pollutants, reaching our aquifer by several ways, as we mentioned recently, and all of them affect our health. And you see, if you looking to see the curves of illnesses and diseases in the Ministry of Health, you will see that the recent years showed us many of rising and elevating of these curves in the diseases related to the children and the people who's exposed to a high level of contamination in their water. As you know, the methemoglobinemia and the blue baby is a disease because of the drinking for the water, which contain more than 50 ppm part per million, or 50 milligram per liter of nitrate. And this nitrate in the stomach of baby, which is basic, it will reduce to nitrite, and the coupling of this matter to the hemoglobin of the blood will make the people to be without oxygen, and the blue color will rise on their lips and their fingers because of this exposing for this material. So many of other diseases have been recorded related to the waterborne waterborne diseases as a microbial pollution and for the chemical or physical pollution in our water in the Gaza Strip.
And what about the local economy? Because for example, in agriculture, there's now many crops that can't be planted anymore because of the high salinity of the water. So I imagine that other parts of the economy are also affected by the pollution and the scarcity.
I would like to say that the agricultural sector in the Gaza Strip is very, very destroyed or very difficult on their owners. The farmers, the agricultural activity is very complicated because of the closure, and there is no export or import, any issues related to the agricultural activities. The water is one of the most important, playing an important role in developing this sector, the agriculture. As you know, the plant depends only on the water, and otherwise or other things is very important, but not such as or like the water. In the Gaza Strip, many farmers left their work and go to the other work which has a very high level of competition. Their experience in agriculture isn't like other. So the water scarcity and the water pollution, the water quality level, which is very low, prevent them to develop their agricultural activity. In addition to the war and the activity of the occupation, Israeli occupation destroyed for more than 100,000 dunams. Each dunam, one dunam is equal 1,000 meter square. So by compacting of this biological or biosphere as a soil, agricultural soil, which is rich by microorganisms, microbiological living organisms, and which is or should be very fertile to be a good in agriculture, compacted by heavy vehicles or heavy tanks by the Israeli invasions. And each time, all of the border lands, and which is rich by the wells, agricultural water wells, is destroyed completely, and by buffering, by buffer zone and other things which will be mentioned in your interview coming time.
And so I read that the most recent operation from Israel, Protective Edge, this summer, that also many water wells were destroyed and networks were destroyed.
Yes. Before the recent invasion and war, severe damages to the water and sanitation infrastructure in the Gaza Strip have been conducted by the siege and the closure of a crossing. Almost all sewage and water pumps were out of operation due to a lack of electricity and fuel. Spare parts and other maintenance supplies were in urgent need to be replenished. This situation resulted in a serious shortage of water and sewage overflows in urban areas, posing a threat to public health. As you know, WHO recommend that if you want to be alive in a good and healthy manner, you should receive 150 liters of water daily. In Israel, they are providing their people by 300 liters per day. In America, 600 liters per day, the American people, each one per capita. In Europe and Germany, like German, 400 liters of water to be provided for the people to be in a life or in a healthy life. In Gaza Strip, it's not more than 70 or 60. In a good situation, 60 liters of water provided for the people, and this is the range. It means that there is a people haven't 30 or 40 liters of water daily, which is affect their public health or their hygienic practices and the sanitation activities in their homes, toilets and bathrooms and other. The Israeli blockade of the Gaza Strip impeded the provision of spare parts and thus contributes to exacerbate the problem. Several aid agencies and the top United Nations, a humanitarian official in the Palestinian territories, therefore they demand the immediate opening of crossings. According to the United Nations, about 60% of the population in the Gaza Strip didn't have access to continuous water supply in these years. The recent aggression come to add more and more challenges and pain in all life issues of the Gazans, particularly in the environment and water issues. I would like to mention some points or some numbers. In water supply system, and according to the Gaza Damage Assessment August 2040 as a baseline data, and this is the report we have done in water utility, municipal water utility in the Gaza with cooperation with water authority in the Gaza Strip. Distribution centers, there is a 24 distribution center in the Gaza Strip, 6 of them totally destroyed and partially damaged for another 6 of them. Filter and treatment plants, we have 21 treatment plants in Gaza Strip. There is 2 of them destroyed completely and 4 partially damaged. Tube wells and pumping station 16, there is 6 damaged. Main lines, 800 kilometers of main lines of water supply. 15 kilometers of these lines were totally destroyed and 20 kilometers of them partially damaged. Pipelines as a small range, 1,600 kilometers is a baseline number, but 15 kilometers of these kilometers were totally destroyed and 25 kilometers partially damaged. When we talked about the storage, and this we are talking about the strategic tanks, storage tanks in the Gaza Strip, 26 baseline number of storage tanks, 5 completely destroyed and 11 partially destroyed. This is just in a water supply, but in wastewater and sanitation system, another numbers. Sewage treatment plants is 4. There is a 3 partially damaged. You see that is 70% of the treatment plants were partially damaged or destroyed. Sewage collection lines, 775 kilometers is the actual length. 10 kilometers totally destroyed and 20 kilometers partially damaged. Pumping station and other facilities in the Gaza Strip, and in addition of the preventing of the development and the suitable enhancement through or during the siege and the closure of the crossings of the Gaza Strip by the occupation Israeli, the wars and the conflict, invasion and the shelling of this infrastructure has added or have added many of challenges in face of.
So all the things you're naming, it's been impossible to fix any of this because
the closure is continue.
Yeah.
The closure is continue and the situation remaining on its origin. There is a closure of crossings, and the siege is actually present today. We are the people in the Gaza Strip didn't see any changes after the war. All of the records and the talks in the media or press is decoration. There is no any actual practical impact on land. We didn't.
This is also why these floods were so bad last week. Is that right? because of the lack of infrastructure.
Yes, yes, the siege and the prevention of the development in all of our issues, mainly in the infrastructure, prevent us to receive any circumstances or any extreme phenomenon such as Alexa in the last years or in the last week. The rainfall and the flooding will destroy our roads, the west and the sea rainfall, unfortunately inserted to the wastewater collection system, which is damaged originally, and there is no any drainage system for the rainfall collection and harvested it to and inserted it to our groundwater aquifer, as we mentioned recently.
So how do you, for example, how do you deal with the situation just in a day-to-day situation? How do you...
In Gaza Strip, the problems become more and more complicated day by day because of the growth of people number and the siege continuous situation, in addition to the Israeli military actions against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. About the desalinated brackish groundwater in the Gaza Strip has become an important source of drinking water. Over 20,000 consumers in over 50% of the Gaza households have installed domestic reverse osmosis RO unit, as you know, to desalinate water for drinking purposes. The water quality is high through the water leaks basic minerals, but it has a very bad behavior in removing the needed elements and metals for the infant or the children. As you know, reverse osmosis is a mechanical process to remove the elements or salts. Needed calcium, potassium will be removed as COD or as TDS, and it is a healthy remarks should be taken into consideration. As of January 2014, there were maybe 80 Nabur desalination plants in Gaza Strip, providing safe drinking water for free to 995,000 people who come to fill their canisters at the plants. In 2009, approximately 100 industrial desalination plants were operational. Due to the Israeli blockade, as we say, of the Gaza Strip, the import of spare parts essential to operate the desalination plants of industry, communities and households, as well as necessary chemicals, is problematic. Some people provide their houses by a rainfall or rainwater collection small-scale unit to use it in the drought times. As you know, the chemicals needed to disinfect the water, such as chlorine or hypochloric acid and ozone, or using UV, all of these techniques have many challenges in Gaza Strip, and many of water in the Gaza Strip reaching the homes without a good disinfectant and a good combat of pollutants, basically, or especially the biological contaminants, with many microorganisms which came from the wastewater. As you know, the parasitic pollution, Strongylosis cercoralis, Enterobius vermicularis, Ascaris lambricoides, Giardia lamblia, all of them as common parasites exist in our stools, feces, and exist in our wastewater. Reaching the water supply or aquifer will rise the dangerous. This a kind of microorganisms. We are talking about parasites. We don't forget the bacterial contamination and other type of viral contamination exists in our many samples of water in the Gaza Strip.
So
it is a black image.
It It's but I knew it. I knew it was a pretty black image, but it's very good to get detail from you on how people are coping and how bad the situation is.
And this is our message, to show the people in all over the world what we are living to and what is the pain with Palestinian children, Palestinian women in the Gaza Strip, how they are coping to be alive within this very complicated conditions.
Do you think that there was recently a report from Friends of the Earth Middle East calling on Israel to transfer more water to Gaza? Do you think that's a realistic option?
No, absolutely no.
No.
I would like to say something. In the Palestinian people concepts in their mind, the Israeli is enemy, and it's true for the Israeli people. They considered us as enemy. If you want the enemy to provide you the water, it will be used as a pressure tool.
Yeah.
And it will not be feasible for you. You should depend on yourself to provide your people by a continuous, sustainable water resource and healthy water.
The problem is that even if you build a desalination plant and if you build wastewater treatment plants, and Israel bombs Gaza every 2 years, then they'll destroy them. So
exactly. We need a pressure from the international community, WHO, international United Nations, European Commission.
Don't pay any attention to these. I mean, if Israel decides to bomb Gaza, Israel doesn't care about the United Nations. Israel doesn't care about any international organization. So they're not going to stop bombing Gaza because the UN or the WHO says so.
Of course, maybe we need to give the Palestinian people their rights in independent state, and to give the Palestinian people their rights in water and healthy environment by solving all of the problems, standing problems between the both of sides in the conflict. We can live in peace, but by the.
So you think peace is needed for the water situation to be resolved?
Exactly. But the Israeli occupation, as you see, if they manage the borders and the crossing of the Gaza Strip, they closed it recently, years ago, and they see. The Israeli government and the Israeli people see the pain of the Palestinian in the Gaza Strip and doesn't care much for them.
Well, I actually don't think the Israelis see it, because I don't think their media reports it.
Maybe.
I think Israelis don't know.
I agree with you.
I don't think they know. I mean, maybe this time round they knew more than last time, but I think many of them don't know.
Of course, I agree with you. I
think their media just doesn't report on the reality of life
in Palestine. Yes, in honesty and in real. I would like to add something. In addition to the water scarcity and quality deficiency, the Israeli enforced buffer zone along the border with Gaza was originally supposed to stretch about 150 meters into Gaza, but this has now increased to over 1,000 meters. You are talking about 1 kilo. What is the area of the Gaza Strip to remove 1 kilo as length from the border in places, and is affecting thousands of farmers along the roughly 50 kilometer long border with Israel. This is deeply affecting the economy in the Gaza. Adding that farming is an important part of food security here. To official buffer zone and the areas it has extended into recently have become no-go zones, as farmers have been killed or injured if they got too close to the borders, and others are now afraid to go anywhere near the area. The electricity has a big issue or a big problem lonely. The decisive point is that living conditions in modern agglomerations depend on the availability of electricity. Gaza is a densely populated area, as we say, where the energy needed for survival cannot be produced by means other than electricity. This is particularly true for the operation of hospitals, water issues, as we mentioned recently, and other vital facilities in the Gaza Strip. Thus, sufficient electricity is essential for the survival of the population. Inter alia, the water supply depends on the availability of electricity for pumping stations and other facilities of the water distribution system. Electricity is thus a relief commodity, the passage of which into an territory in need of it may not be prevented. And this closure or this cutting of power in Gaza Strip added more and more challenges in facing of the water related organizations in Gaza Strip.
So really, thank you so much for all your thoughts and your input. It's going to be very useful for me. My last question, as you saw, is how do you see the future? So I know I read the United Nations reports about Gaza in 2020. How do you see it?
I'm not optimistic. And I'm not pessimistic at the same time. I am not pessimistic also, because the situation is continuous as it. The deterioration is continuous. The siege, the closure of a crossing is continuous. The pain of the Palestinian in the Gaza Strip is continuous. There is no any changes on the land, practical changes. If we want to ensure the life in the Gaza Strip for the coming generations, we should work and act together with all of our friends, our brothers, and all over the world to stop the Israeli occupation acts or activities against the Palestinian people. And by peace, I see that the peace will provide us our rights if it built on a good and clear, obvious elements or issues. By upgrading our facility, environmental and other, upgrading or develop it in a good manner, we will live in a good place. But by this way, by the actual conditions, I see it will be black. I'm sorry, it will be black, because the population growth continue, the pain continue, and the closure or the responsibility on the Israeli is not played or is not done effectively and efficiently.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you too.
I'm going to, so I've recorded this and I'm going to transcribe it. If I have any other questions, can I email you?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
There's, maybe some things I need further information or so.
I'm ready to provide you by all of the needed reports and all of information. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I would like if you produce your material.
I'll send you the link.
Yes.
It's going to be published in January.
I need to hear it, and I have an archive of all of our media and all of our awarenesses issues.
Great. Well, I would be honored to be part in your archive.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.